Hello guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. It's Mark here, and we are back with another full flight video in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And we got another long haul on deck today. In fact, a very long haul. So, we are here on the ground in Houston at George Bush Intercontinental Airport, and we're in this beautiful Atlas Air 747-8 freighter model. And we're going to take this big, beautiful airplane all the way over to Hong Kong on a freight mission. So this flight, I couldn't find any kind of history of this flight, this particular route being operated. However, obviously flying cargo gives you some freedom to do some, some custom type routes, because a lot of cargo flying happens to be kind of on demand. So I kind of wanted to do this route because it's extra long in terms of flight time, especially in the winter months when we got strong jet streams, when we're flying out westbound. So we're going to be taking this bird over to Hong Kong. We'll go ahead and talk about the flight plan itself real quick before we jump into the flight deck. You can see the catering has arrived. I'll mention the airplane real quick. This is just the default 747 with the working title updates, of course, and it's got kind of this freighter model on it, but the cargo door on the nose doesn't open or anything like that. So Ryzen Sim apparently has a mod coming to do that. That was announced a few months ago, but I have no idea when that's actually coming. So we're just using this for now. But let's go ahead and jump into the flight plan. We'll look at our route on SimBrief real quick. Very long route this evening. So it's currently about 1:30 a.m. and we're going to depart Houston relatively shortly here. We'll try to get off the ground as quickly as we can. After we depart, which we are on the Stick 8 standard instrument departure, and off to the northeast, we're going to cross over Dallas, the Texas Panhandle, straight over Colorado, parts of Wyoming, Idaho, Washington. We'll pass right over Vancouver before we head over the Gulf of Alaska and parts of the northern kind of Aleutian Islands area, and then down alongside Japan and the east coast of China before we get into Hong Kong. And it's going to be quite a long one. Let's go ahead and pull up our SimBrief route. So as we can see, we're going to burn a ridiculous 375,000 pounds of fuel in a flight time or trip time of 17 hours 36 minutes, which gives us a block time of 18 hours and 4 minutes. Now this is pretty much out to the max range of this aircraft in terms of especially flying westbound this time of year with those strong jet streams, which actually I'll turn those on real quick so we can have a look. How do I switch? Which weather product I'm looking at? Right down here. Jet streams. So there we can see our jet streams. We're going to be in a relatively smaller one right after we depart, and then we won't have to worry about it too much until we get out over the Gulf of Alaska. And this is definitely going to slow us down. We're going to have headwinds the whole time, even when we're not in these strong jet streams. But this was kind of the quickest route I could find if you were to take it a little bit southbound, just the extra distance, since the Great Circle route follows more of this track. The extra distance there was so much that we didn't have enough fuel, basically. So that's the route we're taking, and we are taking, where am I looking? The maximum amount of fuel that can fit on this airplane, every last drop. So SimBrief included automatically 5% contingency, which is 53 minutes, and then our takeoff fuel was 419,000 pounds, and then I added all of the extra, which was just about 5,400 pounds to get up to our max, because sometimes the fuel burn on this aircraft can be a little bit iffy, and with those headwinds I wanted to, you know, take all of it since it was only an extra 5,500 pounds around there. So hopefully we won't run out of fuel, but I'll be able to monitor it, because by the time we'd be in that type of situation, I'm going to do this overnight, but it won't actually be done until tomorrow evening, so I'll be able to monitor it throughout the day. But that's the flight plan, and we're actually having to go pretty light. No passengers, of course, 'cause we're a freighter, and only 42, actually a little bit less than that in what we actually loaded in the airplane, 42,000 pounds of cargo, which is quite a light load, and I have a feeling this flight would not be happening in the real world, because that probably wouldn't make money on it. But that's why it's a simulator, right? So, all right, without further ado, we'll jump into the flight deck here, and we'll get things set up. So only things I've done is flip on the battery, ground powers, and the nav lights. Everything else is just as is, and I turned the dome light on as well, so we had a little extra light in here. What I do need to go ahead and do, is go ahead and align those IRSs, so we'll get that going, and we'll just do a quick cockpit flow here as well. Standby power can come to auto. The rest of this can stay where it is for now. We don't need the APU quite yet. I'm going to leave the hydraulics for now as well. Emergency lights can be armed. That all looks good. We'll go ahead and pressurize the fuel pumps in the center and the stabilizers, because we're going to have fuel literally everywhere since we've got every last drop essentially loaded onto the airplane. Anti-ices, I'll leave those for now as well. Window heats, go ahead and turn those on. So that looks good. On this side, we'll go ahead and turn the packs on as well. And I'm going to go and turn the engine bleed switches on. There's no reason not to. We'll get the logo light on. I'll check down here. Fueling's completed. Seatbelt sign. I'm just going to turn that to auto because we're not really having any passengers on board today. So that's all set. I'll jump down to the FMS and just talk about everything down here. So I've already loaded everything in here. Had to be very careful of the zero fuel weight, because if that was too much higher than what was actually on the plan, which I got it just about perfect, then we wouldn't have enough fuel to make it. So we'll hope that works out. But we've got 421,214 pounds of fuel, which is every last drop I could get on there. And we've got 40,400 pounds of cargo, so pretty light load. I don't know, we're taking a shipment of feathers or something, I guess, over to Hong Kong. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and start with aircraft setup then. Active nav data looks fine there. Position initialization. We'll throw in our reference airport, Kilo India Alpha Hotel. We won't throw a gate in there. I'll take our GPS position, throw that in the IRSs. Does this give us a timer? Does not, it's just working on the alignment, that's fine. Route, we'll pull a route request. Get that loaded in. Any day now. There it goes. Cool. We'll load that in. We have Houston to Hong Kong. That looks good. Flight number, our call sign today is Giant 5863. Giant is Atlas's call sign. Runway, we're going to be taking 33 right today. Take a quick peek at our charts for Houston. So we are up here at the cargo ramps, and 33 right, that's a very long taxi, but it's the longest runway we have, and I don't have a takeoff calculator for this airplane that I really trust, and even though we don't have much cargo, we're very, very heavy. So we're going to taxi all the way down there just to make sure we don't overrun the end of the runway, which we're probably going to be fine, but just to be safe, we're going to do that extra long taxi this evening. So 33 right, no company route or anything like that. We'll go ahead and load in our planned departure, and might as well throw our arrival in there as well, even though that obviously could change 18 hours from now. So 33 right, we were on the stick 8. And what was the transition there? Transition on that arrival, or not arrival, departure is Dolly. Perfect. And our planned arrival into Hong Kong, I'm not going to scroll all the way over there, we'll just pull it up on the flight plan, is the Abbey 3 Alpha for runway 7 right. So Abbey 3 Alpha, ILS 7 right. And do we want to approach transition? We actually want to go over here to verify that. We do. Probably want that via Limes. But let's take a look at the charts for that really quick. ILS 7 right. Yeah, I want that via Limes. Feeds right onto the approach, so Limes. Cool. Lakes page here. We'll go to the plan page. I'm going to zoom that out just a little bit. And we'll step through here, make sure we don't have any discontinuities, make sure everything looks good. Let's see. Departure and vectors. So we'll brief that real quick, just so I know what we're doing. 33 right. Stick 8 RNAV, cool. And then for our routing for 33 right, climb on heading 329 to 600, and then radar vectors to our initial fix. So that's fine. We'll leave this as is, and we'll just direct ourselves after departure. So that discontinuity is fine. Here we are heading out over the Pacific. Cool, and that approach looks good. So route all looks good, so we will go ahead and execute that. And we'll head back to the map page there. Sweet, performance initialization here. Initial cruise altitude, we're going to verify that on our flight plan here. Initially 320, and then we're going to step our way all the way up to 400. Some of these are supposed to happen overnight while I'll be asleep, and this airplane doesn't have auto step, so I'll see if I can get up to 340 before I go to sleep. If not, that's another reason why I brought some extra fuel, because we're going to obviously burn extra if we have to stick lower than we're supposed to, so then I'll kind of have to step it up after I wake up in the morning, but hopefully that won't cause too much of an issue. So 320 is our initial, that looks good. 0 fuel weight, we can load that in. Reserves, we'll take the number off here, 19.6. See if that throws us any fuel errors. So far so good on that. Our cost index is 320, which is certainly up there, 320. And another thing I'll point out, actually, which is a cool thing that's included on SimBrief plans, is it tells you the impact of changes you might make or things that might happen during the flight in terms of the amount of fuel that it causes, P being plus, M being minus, and time. So you can see weight, like up a 1,000 pounds, down 1,000 pounds, doesn't make too much of a difference there. Flight level change, so this is why we're worried, like if I don't step, see if we were to stay 2 flight levels below our max the entire route, it only costs us 10 extra minutes, but we'd also burn 12,000 extra pounds. This actually isn't a ton. We should have the extra to account for that, so I'm not too worried about running out of fuel. But another thing we could do in flight if we were running short on fuel is go down to cost index 0, because you can change that in flight. That would cause us to burn 5,800 less pounds, but would cause our flight to increase by 51 minutes. So a couple things to consider in flight if we do need to adjust our fuel burn. But step size, I don't want it to auto calculate. I'm going to put those in myself, so we're going to do 0, and I'm actually going to do that right now. It's going to tell me insufficient fuel, so we'll put in our steps and our legs. I believe this FMS can handle that. Where are my steps? There we go. So EPH, we want 340. So we'll do dash 340S at EPH. And the next one is 58 north, 160 west. . 360. Oops. So dash 360S. And then we want Nates for, actually I'm going to skip that, climb to 370. So we're still going westbound. I'm going to go up to Nickel and 380. Now, like I was saying, these aren't all going to happen where they're supposed to, because I will be asleep for some of them, but we'll get as close as we can. And we'll do Nikon 400. And we'll execute that, and that should fix our fuel burn issues. But another thing I need to do real quick is a VNav page. So, we'll do a descent forecast. Load in those winds. And let's go legs page route data and load in our wind. There, and it's telling us insufficient fuel as well there. Progress. So we'll definitely have to watch this. Negative 23.7. So we may end up diverting or something. Who knows? We'll see. But so far, I'm gonna trust. I'm gonna trust SimBrief and hope that we can make it work. Cool. Well, we'll continue on. We're gonna do toga takeoff probably and climb. Yeah, because I don't really have a working calculator for this. What I could potentially do, let's see what TopCat says, even though it's not going to be perfectly accurate. 747, because this doesn't even have a 747-8, I don't believe. Does not. So this isn't going to be accurate really at all. But let's just see what it says. Takeoff weight. What's our gross weight? 930.9. That's gonna be above maximum. Let's see if it'll calculate for us. Yeah, no D-rate, so we'll leave it without a D-rate. You know, this airplane's gonna be more powerful than the 400. Leave it without a D-rate, and on climb, that's fine. CG of 25 flaps. I closed out of that. Let's let's see what flaps 10 gives us for speeds. 160, 176, 190. I think we'll probably be able to make that, so we'll make that work. Trim of 6 units. Well, let me set that without the hydraulics. Yeah, 6.0 units. Which is right on the edge there. Cool. Trim is set. So that's pretty much it for the FMS in terms of the takeoff stuff. We'll get the MCP all set up now. So I want 176 loaded, or excuse me, 190 loaded, V2 speed. If I keep zooming out. Alright, 190, we'll load that on. Flight directors can come on. Take data and traffic over here, and data and traffic over there. Don't have any terrain to worry about. Runway heading for our runway of departure is going to be 329, I believe. Yep, that's correct. That's not work. 329. Initial climb on the SID is 16,000, our top altitude. So 16,000 is set. We'll go ahead and take auto brake to RTO as well. IRSs are aligned, and we'll go ahead and get things set up as well as request pushback and departure. So we'll go ahead and start the APU. We'll go ahead and pressurize our hydraulics to the auto positions. Thing up here looks good. Fuel pumps are all on. Window heats are on. Anti-ices can now come to the auto position.
Hello, Captain.
Like so. Packs are on, engine bleeds are on, and EPU bleed is on as well. What?
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
Close the doors automatically like it usually does, or there it goes. There it goes, cool. So, middle of the night departure here, or early, very early morning departure here out of Houston should get us into Hong Kong around 9:30 to 10 in the morning if everything goes to plan. The other thing is, for those of you that are familiar with the 747, obviously the fuel system takes quite a bit of managing under normal circumstances, but obviously, so I'm going to leave basically everything on. It should still feed fuel. Now it's not going to balance it the way that you normally would, but it should keep the airplane from running or not feeding fuel to the engines and slamming into the ground. So we'll hope that works out as well. We're going to be facing west. Do a real quick check, make sure everything else is set. APU is running, so we want APU gens on, ground power is off, so that's good. I'm going to recycle our APU bleed there, just make sure everything's good.
Release parking brakes, please.
Beacon will go on to both, since we are about ready for pushback and departure. Everything else looks to be set. Pushback check is connected, and we're ready to go. We'll go ahead and release that parking brake.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Cool. Get the clock started on this side. Sweet. Alright, we'll go ahead and get our engines started. We're going to start with engines 3 and 4. Can't remember if these do auto start or not, but I'm going to wait till around 25% into to put in our fuel. Alright, there's 25. We'll add fuel on. Oops. Put this wing view here. Alright, we got starter cutout on 3 and 4, so we'll go ahead and start 1 and 2. We go ahead and take our dome light off as well. There's 25. Add the fuel in.
Please set parking brakes.
And there's cutout and pushback complete. Parking brake is on. We have 4 good engines. Sweet. Alright, TCAS. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on like so. We'll go ahead and select flaps 10. We'll go ahead and
Unlocking gear.
take the engine gauges off that center display. This guy can go to progress page for now. We'll clean up here. We don't need that APU anymore. That can come
Tow
off.
truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
Everything else looks good. APU bleed can come off. Engine bleed's on. All the fuel can stay on for now. Turn taxi and turn off lights on. Everything else looks good. Sorry, just blinded our tug driver. That's alright. He'll survive. Auto throttle armed. LNAV, VNAV. Actually, we should not do LNAV. In fact, we'll do heading select departure today. Auto brakes RTO. Cool. So that's all set. We are good to go. We're going to taxi out here, Echo Bravo to November Bravo, all the way down probably to Whiskey Bravo, and we'll take that all the way down here through your right. Quite a long taxi, so I won't bore you with the whole thing, but we'll get rolling here. Get rid of that parking brake. Make sure our ground equipment is all clear. Looks like it is. And without further ado, be on our way out to the runway and off to Hong Kong. Alright, We've made it all the way over here to runway 33 right. Took us from after pushback finished, better part of 10 or 15 minutes. So quite a long taxi, but we did finally make it. We're going to pull out here and take the very full length, as much runway as we can tonight, because we may just need it. I'm not going to bother chiming the cabin or anything like that, because we don't have any passengers or flight attendants on board the airplane. Approach path out there looks clear. I don't see lights of any airplanes coming in to land on 33 right. Auto throttle is armed. We have VNAV and heading select. Increase our range a little bit. Cool, that all looks good. We'll take landing lights and strobe light on as we pull on the runway. Beautiful. And we'll line this bad boy up. Alright, flaps 10 is set. We are ready to go. As we spin it around, we'll start the clock for departure here. Make sure we're all lined up. And I'm going to set around 50% or so on the throttles. I'm going to go find my click spot. There it is, and toga. Airspeed's alive. Thrust is set. There's 80 knots. Got thrust hold, heading select and toga. Everything looks good there. Accelerating nicely. Looks like we're gonna have plenty of runway. There's V1. We're committed. And rotate. Now we are going to use a very good chunk of that runway. Positive rate. Gear up. We got the checklist incomplete. That's alright. And we're off. Speed intervene, hold our speed at the flap 5 speed. With that thrust reduction. Beautiful. Oil temperature warning, so we're going to keep hand flying the airplane for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to legs page, we're going to go direct and LNAV. We'll go out of speed intervene, let the airplane accelerate. There's that fuel warning as well. Up to flap 5 speed, we'll select flaps 5. Here's flaps 1. According to those speeds, it's going to want us to maintain flaps 1 until we get accelerated above 250. In reality though, with us that heavy, we'd accelerate faster than 250 because our minimum speed is probably above that. Minimum flap up speed like it's shown there. And we'll take flaps up and we'll hold right around 260 knots for now. And we're gonna go ahead and take the autopilot. Looks good. Clean the airplane up. We're gonna take taxi and turn off lights off. Let's take a look at our engine page. Here, see what's going on. Oil temperature on engine 4. That looks fine now. If I recall that, it's still coming up. It's because it's low? I'm not sure what's going on with that. Let's see if we can get that checklist thing to go away as well. If we click through these, we did complete them, I just did not use the checklist. We'll just override these. Take off. There, okay, well that got it to go away. Perfect. Alright, there's 10,000 feet. We got our landing lights off. Above 10,000, we'll let VNav manage the speed and we'll accelerate the airplane. There's a good view of the city lights of Houston as we climb out to the northwest. Looking good. Well, alright. Looks like our hit the recall again. Yeah, looks like our oil temperature warning went away for that engine. So hopefully that won't be a recurring issue. Everything looks fine. They're a little bit low on the right-hand engines. I'm not sure what could be causing that. Oh, there it comes again. Weird. Very strange. Anyways, I'll keep monitoring that. Everything seems fine on the performance of the engines. And at this time we'll go ahead and set cruise altitude as well. Flight level 320. Our fuel, if we look over here at the progress page, still is showing a negative, but that will probably change once our cruise fuel burn is set, so we'll monitor that as well. But I think I will just about leave it there. Airplane is relatively stabilized into the climb, so I'll leave you guys with a few images probably after I sleep through the night of some portion of the cruise. But other than that, I'll talk to you guys either shortly before descent or during our descent, depending on the situation. So see you guys then. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the flight. So, it's been quite a long haul over here. As you can see, we've been in the air just about 17 hours, a little bit more than that at this point. So everything's gone pretty uneventfully for the most part. If we take a look at our current fuel down here, we've still got 88,000 pounds, which means we burned quite a lot less fuel than we expected to, which is fine. Our landing weight's going to end up quite high. It's only below max for sure, but quite a bit higher than we thought. So I think we didn't hit quite as strong a jet stream headwinds as we maybe thought we might. But we're well into our descent here. Everything still is planned. The winds are out of the north, which is all going to be a left crosswind for us on runway 7 right, but still a headwind component there. So that's the runway we're using. In the real world, they're using 7 left for landing, but that would have us taxi quite a long ways over the cargo ramp. So I'm not going to do that since we had such a long taxi on the way out as well. So VNav's handling the descent here. We're slowing down a little bit and heading down towards transition altitude of 11,000 feet. So we'll be setting a baro shortly. Complete the descent check, everything except for actually our landing data. So let's go take a peek at that. And we're going to do flaps 30, 142. So landing data complete. Approach checklist, we'll set that once the altimeters are set. Take a look at Navigraph. We're on our arrival here. We met our restriction at Musel, however you say that, at this fix. No other restrictions for us, so I have our altitude tuned all the way down to our glide slope intercept altitude of 16,000. So we're well on our way towards our approach and landing. Minimums are set, 227 on the baro. Like I mentioned before, we have preset our QNH. So everything is looking quite good. It's been a beautiful morning here as we cruise over Northeast Asia, all the way along the coast of Japan, east coast of China, right over Taiwan, and then down now towards Hong Kong. Looks like if we add on our taxi time out of Houston, which was like almost 20 minutes, and then our relatively short taxi time in Hong Kong, we should beat our scheduled block time by a few minutes. Partly due to the fact that I actually, go here, during the flight, bumped our cruise cost index up to 500, which is the max. Since we had all that extra fuel, I figured we might as well go fast as we can. What's the little drag now? This slows to 240. Looks like it's going to handle that. I'm going to leave it for now, I think. By the way, there is transition altitude, so we'll set standard. That's why it wants the drag. Alright, we'll give it some drag then. And that completes the sin checklist. So that cost index had us cruising all the way up at nearly, it was like Mach 0.876, I believe, once we stepped all the way up to flight level 400. So quite the high cruising speeds that helped us make up a few minutes since we had the extra fuel to use. Other thing I forgot to mention, auto brake, I already set that to 2. Don't need that speed brake anymore, we can get rid of it. Auto brake set to 2. We are quite heavy, but we got a long runway. I don't think we're going to need more than that. The 747 tends to stop pretty quickly, especially for its size, so I think that should be alright for us. Coming through 10,000 feet, we'll go ahead and get going with our landing lights here. We'll leave the turn-offs and taxi lights until we are on final, where we would be cleared to land if we were speed brake extended. There we go. If we were using ATC, but we are not. It's livery, by the way, livery, whatever. Comes from flightsim.to, as I get most of mine over there, and it's kind of like a dirty Atlas Air livery. It's very, very nice. Highly recommend it if you're looking for an Atlas Air 747 to fly. Cool. Starting to pop out of the clouds here. We see some of the terrains of those mountains surrounding Hong Kong. One of my favorite places to fly in the sim for sure. Beautiful, beautiful place. I do have the Samscene 3D Hong Kong City installed, which is kind of going to set off in this direction. You can start to see some of those buildings off to the right of the aircraft up there. Highly recommend that as well. Greatly improves how the city itself looks. We are getting these fuel warnings. Actually, let me go back and double check. Fuel system, everything's set up how it should be. We're feeding from our reserve tanks into main 1 and 4, and main 2 and 3 are feeding there. I don't know why it wants the override or the demand pumps on. I don't believe they should be on, so I'm just gonna ignore that because everything's working generally how it should, so not worried about that. Gonna take a peek at our legs page here, see when it's going to start slowing us down a little bit more. Not until after Limes, which is actually a little bit late. So I'm going to go back to 220 here shortly, just so we can get set up with maybe flaps 1 to 5 in this section before we turn on to the ILS. There's Hong Kong off our right side. It's just such an interesting looking city with all the little islands and massive amount of skyscrapers in the water. What a cool place. Love to go there someday, or even fly into here at some point, hopefully. Cool. There's the old Kai Tak airport there. In fact, once we get the PMDG 747-400, I think I'm going to do a flight into there. I've never actually landed there, even in Flight Tampa had a version of this back in like FSX. I think I never really even landed there, so that will be on the bucket list as well once we have the 747-400. Okay, do a quick briefing here for landing. Landing 7 right. Hoping to exit probably Kilo 5 would make the most sense, and then we're gonna park over here kind of at the cargo terminals. I'm not 100% sure exactly along this area where Atlas tends to park, but we'll park up at a stand somewhere in this range. So nice quick taxi by Lima 2 or 3 into the cargo ramp there. If we did miss Kilo 5, we got Kilo 6. You know, early we touched down. Kilo 4 maybe even a possibility, but we'll probably just plan to take a high speed there. So far so good on performance as well. Occasionally I will get some stutters after long hauls, like degradation, or I'll have a few less FPS, but the later versions of the sim, I think I might have mentioned this in my last video as well, but I don't seem to have that too much, which is certainly a good thing, because that's never what you want to see after a long flight, and to have to land in a kind of slideshow into your destination. I think as we're nearing this turn right here, we'll slow to 220, then maybe 200 on this leg, start getting flaps going. May actually slow down a little bit earlier than that, since we are heavy. I don't think this airplane tends to have too big of a trouble slowing down, but we are pretty heavy, so Just want to make sure we get slowed down in time. Take it now, we'll slow to 220. Actually, we'll just bug the flap up speed there. I don't think there's really any speed restrictions other than 280, so it's all just kind of up to us here since we're not flying with any air traffic control. So pull back to 220, maybe 200 around here, and then 180 and down towards approach speed once we're established on the approach. 1023. Is this the most accurate? Yes, still 1023. See if I can throw in a 10 nautical mile ring here just for reference. So we're going to be at about 10 miles out when we intercept there, right at that fix. So I'll aim to get the gear down shortly after. Alright, kind of a base leg situation here, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is take flaps 1, and then we'll slow the airplane to that flaps 1 speed, which is right about 200. Don't think we're going to need that speed brake. I'm going to go and arm that now. Got this cool bridge out in front of us here. That is quite the overwater bridge. Starting our turn towards intercept here. I'm going to go ahead and take flaps 5. Then I'll slow our speed down towards 180. We'll select our flaps 5 speed. As we make this turn here, we're below the glide slope, so I'm going to go ahead and take approach mode, which will arm localizer and glide slope, and we're going to get the runway in sight out in front of us. There's runway 7 left out there, 7 right, right over here. There's our radio altimeter active at 2,500. There's our turn, and there's localizer green. And we're intercepting. A little bit high, so I'm going to go ahead and take flaps 10. Caught up pretty quickly on the glide path there. And we're going to go ahead and slow to flap 10 speed. Currently got a headwind. I'm expecting that to shift a little bit off to the left as we get closer down to the runway. But we shall see. Alright, we're going to take gear down. We're going to take flap 20. There's glide slope. We're going to set missed approach altitude of 5,000. We're going to take all our lights on as if we are cleared to land, and we're going to slow all the way down to 147, our approach speed, and we'll take flaps 25. And we'll take flaps 30. There's that wind shifting to the left. You can see the airplane following that, setting up a crab angle into that wind. There's 1,000 feet, flaps 30, landing checklist is complete. And we'll go ahead and kick off the autopilot and the auto throttle. Autopilot gave us the airplane perfectly in trim there. Airspeed trending a little bit slow, so I'm adding just a little bit of power. A little bit more there, actually. Trending a little bit high. There's 3 whites correcting. A little bit more nose down.
500.
Speed's good right here. There's 500. Still trending high. We need to pitch a little bit more down here. Watching that descent rate. We don't want that above
300.
1,000. Got that back. Cool. There we go.
200. Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Decrab. And we're down. Ooh, looks like almost a little bounce there. Auto brake, spoilers, and we'll get that reverse in. There's 80 knots. .60 manual braking, and we'll take this first exit. Beautiful. I'm gonna start GSX real quick as we pull off here. Get rid of those spoilers. And our lights, I'm gonna go ahead and kick all those off. And we'll start the APU. Sweet. Strobe can come off as well. We're going to pull straight ahead, and in this way that'll be an easier turn for us to make. And we're looking for cargo parking. We'll take spot 15. No follow me required. And DHL. Sweet. We'll go ahead and stop that clock at 17 hours, 23 minutes, 44 seconds. Continue to clean things up a little bit. Flight director can come off. We'll turn APU bleed on as well since we're over on APU power, and we'll take the gens as well. Parking spot should be off to the left here, right in that general area. Still got a little bit of stutter on that touchdown. A lot of times closing out a GSX fixes that for me, or at least it definitely seemed to help. But if any of you guys have had that and found like an all-around solution to stopping that, I'd appreciate a tip, as I've gotten rid of some of them but not all of them, and it is kind of an annoying spot to have a stutter right there on touchdown. There's GSX loaded in. Double check all our lights are off. Perfect. Alright, park brake on. Shut down all those engines. Beacon light will come off. Pop up here. I will flip on external powers and kick off the APU. Fuel pumps can come off. We'll take anti-ices off as well. Hydraulics. Looks like lights are all good. Nav and logo on. No need for these engine bleeds or our window heats. And probably not the packs either. Cool. Pop outside. Oh, I didn't take the flaps up, did I? And they're not going to come up because I turned the hydraulics off. Let's see if we can get those up real quick. That's probably why you do a after landing checklist, which I did not do. Alright, there they come.
The boarding requested.
Well, we made it after just over 17 and a half hours here gate to gate, all the way to Hong Kong. It was probably the longest flight, just about the longest flight I've ever done in Flight Simulator, I think. What's going on here? Oh, they're just going up very slowly. Yeah, probably the longest flights I've ever done on Flight Simulator. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Man, I can't figure out what's going on with my flight controls. There they go. I had spoilers up. I had reverse out. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this very long flight. I know I certainly did. This airplane actually is pretty flyable for flights like this. It's not quite as good, I wouldn't say, as the 787, but it's still certainly pretty darn good and pretty enjoyable for these long haul type flights while we scratch our itches waiting for the PMDG and other long haul aircraft. So I'll go ahead and leave it there. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, feel free to leave likes, comments, and suggestions below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one.